Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Welcome, Nation, to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and today is another edition of Age of the Realms, our Warhammer Age of Sigmar Battle Reports. This is Battle Report number 17, and on this Battle Report, we are talking about a 1,000-point border war battle, where it was fought between myself, my Wild Hunt Sylvaneth army, versus my buddy King Khalifa of the Schwarzwald Free Companies of the Free People's Army. So that's right, so my buddy King Khalifa, he's trying to experiment with playing the Warhammer Age of Sigmar, decided to try playing Empire on this one, so he decided to use some of the handgunners on this one, so it's be kind of neat. So this is a 1,000 point battle. Let's see what happens when 1,000 point of my Sylvaneth goes up against 1,000 points of Free Peoples. Alright, let's go and talk about the Wild Hunt. It is my 1,000 point Sylvaneth army. For my leaders, we have Coadil the Willow Lord. He is a Tree Lord Ancient. He has the Gift of Garan command trait. He's also packing Randu's Lamentiri to give him +1 up for his spells, as well as +2 for Deepwood Lore spells when he's inside of a Sylvaneth Forest, so those are always handy. And once again, we're also taking a Deepwood Lore spell, Verdant Blessing. That way, Coadil can summon up 2 Sylvaneth Wildwoods at a time. One for his ability where he rolls a 4 up for his D6, so that way he can summon up his Sylvaneth Wildwood that way. That one's called the Silent Communion. Yeah, not a Silent Communion. Yeah, it's called the Silent Communion ability. And the other one, of course, is we have Verdant Blessings. That way he can sum up another Sylvaneth Deepwood every single time he wants to when he rolls up for his spells. For our battle line units, we have the Court of Seasons, which are 20 Dryads, the Branch Nymph, as well as the Court of Heralds, which are 5 Tree Revenants. And for our units, we have the Troop of Dawn, which is 3 Kurnoth Hunters, the Hunt Master and Great Bows, and the Troop of Dusk, which is another unit of 3 Kurnoth Hunters with Hunt Master as well as Great Bows. And that's going to make up my 1,000 point for this Battle Border War scenario. Up next, we have the Schwarzwald Free Companies. It is a 1,000 point Free People's Army. This is the army that my buddy King Khalifa is bringing along with him. For his leader, he has Hawthorne Dieter Moons, the Griffin Guard. He has an Empire General, the Strategic Genius Command trait. He's also packing the Relic Blade for his artifact, and he's got the Stately War Banner. And for his battle line units, he has the Yellow Company, which is an army unit of 20 Empire Handgunners, the Marksman, Standard Bearer, as well as Pipers, and the Marksman is also armed with a Hawkland Long Rifle. Next to the Blue Company was another unit of 20 Empire Handgunners. Same kind of loadout, Marksman, Standard Bearer, and Pipers, also packing Hawkland Long Rifle. And finally, we have the Red Company, which is another unit of 20 Empire Handgunners with Marksman, Standard Bearer, Pipers, and packing Hawkland Long Rifles. For his unit, he has the Black Company, which is 10 Empire Greatswords. They have a Count's Champion, Standard Bearer, as well as a Hornblower. And for the battalion on this one, they have a State Troops Detachment Battalion. So they get buffs for their battle shocks. They get buffs for +1 to hits, which would be absolutely devastating, especially when you combine those rules with the Empire Handgunners. So that would make up his 1,000 points for this scenario. Alright, so this is a 1,000 point battle. We're fighting on our 4x4 table. As you can see, we have our terrain already laid out for this one. And in case you weren't aware how the Border Wars scenario basically works, what happens is that we have 4 terrain pieces that we're actually fighting for. We have 1 terrain piece in each of our deployment areas, and we have 2 terrain pieces that are right in the middle of the table. So if you look at there, either side of the board, we have 2 towers. Those towers represent the piece of terrain that we hold in our portion of the border. And those 2 series of standing stones, one on the left-hand side and the right-hand side in the center of the board, those are the 2 terrain pieces we're fighting for. Basically, the objective is to have units within 3 inches of those 4 terrain pieces. Whoever controls the most terrain pieces by the end of turn 5 ends up winning the scenario on this part. And so that is exactly what we're going to be fighting for this one. As you can see as well, we have a smattering of Sylvaneth Wildwoods. I have Sylvaneth Wildwoods in the far left-hand corner, far right-hand corner of the north, far side of the board. I also have a near left-hand corner as well. And I also deploy my free Sylvaneth Wildwood right there in the middle. That's the autumn-colored series of trees over there. We also have some ruined buildings as well as another set of standing stones as well. That's just a normal set of standing stones there in the right-hand corner. So that makes up the scenario as well as the battlefield for this battle. Alright, so that takes us directly to the deployment phase. As you can see in this picture, my Sylvaneth army is set up on the near side of the board. My opponent, King Khalifa, and his Empire army are set up on the far side of the board. So you can see that both our units are kind of spread out along those straight lines. Its scenario is actually pretty straightforward. We're just got to charge forward as quickly as we possibly can. Try to save as many objectives as possible at turn number 5. So as you see there, we have both those towers are both occupied and are both in our deployment areas. And now we're going to go into the individual deployment areas and talk about where our forces are located at. Alright, so here's the deployment for the Sylvaneth army. As always, there's not really much to be said what's happening on the board here because most of my army is waiting along the Spirit Path, so that way I can deploy anytime I want during my move phase. But starting from the left in that Sylvaneth Wildwoods on the left-hand side, you can make out Coadil, my Tree Lord Ancient, the Lord of Willows. He's located there, so that way you can start summoning up some Sylvaneth Wildwoods as the battle starts as well. And over you can see that in the top of the tower there, I have my Court of Heralds, my 5 Tree Revenants, and they're going to be used to kind of occupy that tower and hold that. So that way, the only thing I have to focus on are those 2 standing stones on either end of the central part of the board to get those objectives and to try to achieve my opponent. I try to snag up my opponent's tower on that part. So that makes the deployment for the Sylvaneth on this side of the board. And here's the deployment for the Free People's Army. As you can see, start from the left from the right. On the left-hand side, we have the Black Company. There's 10 Empire Great Swords right there. Those guys in purple, the huge unit of 20 guys right there. That's the Yellow Company. That is a the Red Company. That is a unit of 20 Imperial Handgunners as well. Up in the tower, he has his general, which is Hauptmann Dieter Moons, the Griffin Guard. He's up there to kind of lay down the elevated positions, that way he can give out his command ability to all of his forces. On the right hand side of that, you have another unit of 20 handgunners. That's the Blue Company. On the very far right hand side, you have that unit. Okay, now those units on the very far right hand side, those are actually archer miniatures, but we're proxying for this one for this battle report and saying that the Imperial Handgunners. And like I said before in other battle reports, I don't care about proxying. Proxying is totally cool with me, so it's no big issue. So if you get confused a little bit, just be aware that those archers are supposed to be handgunners. So anyways, that makes a deployment for this one, and with that we go directly to the top of turn number 1 after the command phase. Alright, this is a picture of turn number 1 for the Sylvaneth after the command phase. As you can see in this photo, I decided to take the first turn because the last time I didn't take a first turn, it kind of like worked against me. So as you can see in this photo after the command phase, I just did Coadil's usual thing and I summoned up some Sylvaneth Wildwoods. First of all, I used his Silent Communion spell, which gives me another Sylvaneth Wildwood that's within 15 inches of this model on a d6 roll of 4 ups. As you can see on the left hand side, I put 2 more Sylvaneth Wildwoods on the far side, that standing stone, so that way they can, if my opponent decides to charge into that unit and try to seize that standing stone, he's got to take some dangerous terrain tests going through that Sylvaneth Wildwood. At the same time, I also used the spell, the Verdant Blessing spell that's from the Deepwood Lore spell, and luckily I got that spell off pretty easily because of Lanu's Lemon Entry. It gives me a +2 for my Deepwood Lore spells, and I cast another Sylvaneth Wildwood on the far right hand side there to kind of make sure that the Sylvaneth Wildwood is protecting that standing stone on the right hand side as well. So either way you look at it, my opponent's got to charge some Sylvaneth Wildwoods to get to those objectives, and at the same time I get all kinds of buffs and bonuses for my units being inside those forests when the time comes to do some close combat. So that pretty much makes up the command phase for this one. In the movement phase, I start deep striking most of my troops from having them travel along the spirit paths. As you can see on the left hand side, I got the entire Court of Seasons, my huge unit of 20 Dryads, occupying and protecting that objective down the left hand side, so that way anybody that has to go through there, they got to fight through my Dryads to be able to seize that objective. At the same time, on the right hand side, I got my Troop of Dawn, which is 3 of my Kurnoth Hunters protecting that standing stone on the right hand side. And on the very far back on the upper right hand corner of the board, you can see my other unit of the Troop of Dusk. There's another 3 Kurnoth Hunters deployed 9 inches away from the other unit of handgunners, which is the Yellow Company, so that way they can kind of start going from the back. So this is pretty good because right at the end of my movement phase, I've also seized 3 of the 4 objectives so far. So now my opponents have to fight against me and have to fight defensively to kind of hold my objectives. I forgot to mention this too. I also use Coadil's journaling along the spirit paths ability. I have him teleport from the Sylvaneth Wildwoods in the left hand corner all the way up to that Sylvaneth Woods on the right hand side, next to the other side of that standing stone, so that way he can start putting up his spells on that part. So here's a close-up of my Court of Summer Seasons. They're occupying that, holding down that left objective right there, that standing stone. I'm not really too worried about this one because I do have forests around me protecting both my right-hand flank as well as my front. I got bonuses in order for my save. I got bonuses for my save as well because I also have so many Dryads fighting here. I got good attacks, good numbers of troops. Not too worried. All I got to deal with is worry about those Empire Handgunners as well as Great Swords on the other side of that part. So left flank's pretty much secure as far as I'm concerned. And here's a close-up of both my Troop of Dawn as well as Coadil occupying the right standing stone, holding on to that objective as well. So this is kind of a good position for me as well. I'm covered from the forest as well, get some bonuses from that. Plus, whenever I cast spells, the forest come to life and strike anything that's within range. So if my opponent wants to close into this area, he's got to charge those Sylvaneth Wildwoods to take dangerous terrain tests, and at the same time in close range order to open up with some shooting into his main lines as well. So that part's also pretty awesome. And finally, here's a close-up of my Troop of Dusk over there in the far right-hand corner. They're kind of a good position to kind of open up on those Empire Handgunners as well. My plan with my Troop of Dusk is basically have them move up during the movement phase and over the course of the battle and try to seize that tower in my opponent's territory as well, so that way I occupy all 4 territories, and by the turn around 5, I end up with a major victory over my opponent because I hold all the terrain pieces down. So that is pretty much the plan on that side. Also, I also have them located there too because that way I can get any unit into a crossfire with 2 of my Kurnoth Great Hunters opening with their great bows on one unit, and that'll be just absolutely devastating. Especially for Empire troops, since they're lightly armored and everything else like that. So yeah, that pretty much makes the close-ups on this one. Alright, during the shooting phase, you can see in this photo, my poor opponent, King Khalifa's general in this one, Hauptmann Dieter Moons, he is gone from that tower. The reason why is because I opened up with both Kyodil as well as a troop of Dawn. Both those units opened up with their weapons onto that one poor guy. Kyodil managed to put 4 wounds on that guy by himself with his Doom Tendril staff, while my troop of Dawn used their great bows and just kind of smeared that guy off the roof of that tower, so he is no more on that part. So, and that's kind of rough because King Khalifa's only character, hero, leader for that entire unit was that guy, so now he receives no bonuses for his regimental command ability or for his command abilities as well, or command traits either, so that part's kind of rough as well. On the right hand side, you can see that Troop of Dusk opens up with their great bows and manages to cut that unit of Yellow Company handgunners in half, so I killed 11 of those guys from all the damage that was caused with those great bows. Only 9 of those handgunners are left now on the right hand side, so kudos to my guys. And since there's no really close combat going on, and since I didn't really lose any models, my opponent did, but when he came for his battle shock test, he rolled a 1 on that part, so nobody from those handgun units ran away. So that pretty much makes it turn number 1 for the Sylvaneth. Alright, so that takes us to the bottom of turn number 1 for the free people. This picture is taken after the movement phase, and the reason why is because my opponent King Khalifa has no command phase because we killed his only leader for the entire unit. So you can see, as you can see in this photo, he just basically moves out all of his troops on the left hand side. He moves up his Empire Greatsword as close as he possibly can to my Court of Seasons, so that way he can charge into the next round for his charge phase. At the same time, he also deploys that huge unit of handgunners into a line formation for the Red Company, so that way they can start aiming over at my Court of Seasons as well. And I'm kind of worried about that one because Empire handgunners are quite deadly when you get them in units of 20 plus guys. At the same time, on the right hand side, the Blue Company also goes in line formation as well, so aiming all 20 of their guns towards my Troop of Dusk, as Troop of Dawn, as well as Kyodil the Will Lord. And the back there, the Yellow Company does a 180 and just kind of moves out to try to deal with the unit of the Troop of Dusk as well. So that pretty much makes it moving for this side of the board. Alright, here's a close-up of the Black Company as well as the Red Company getting lined up there to open up with some handgun fire as well as charging in for the close combat phase. So as you can see there, King Khalifa is trying to seize that left-hand objective by taking those standing stones away from my Court of Seasons. And here's a close-up of the Blue Company getting ready to take on my Troop of Dawn as well as Kyodil, my Lord of Willows. At the same time, you can see the Yellow Company in the back trying to get in closer contact so that way they can open up with their handguns on my Troop of Dusk there in the back. The shooting phase for my opponent for King Khalifa was actually pretty lackluster. He had all 20 of his handgunners in the Blue Company open up on Kyodil the Will Lord. Unfortunately, he just rolled horribly on when it came to his hit dice as well as his roll dice. All I do is manage to put 1 wound onto Kyodil the Tree Lord, so that part was kind of rough for my buddy King Khalifa. And same thing on the back there, the Yellow Company opened up with their handguns. There's only 9 of those guys anyway, so I managed to put 1 wound on one of my Kurnoth Hunters in the Troop of Dusk as well. So shooting not so great here in the right hand flank of the battle. However, here, shooting on the left-hand flank did went pretty good. The Red Company opened up with all 20 of those handgunners. They got their +1 to bonus as well as their Hawkland long rifles. Managed to take out 6 of my Dryads at the same time. Luckily for me, the only thing that really helped me out from dying of that, they actually would have taken out 10 of my Dryads had not been for the cover saves I received from the Forest, as well as the additional save I got from their Impenetrable Thicket ability as well, because there were so many of those Dryads to get on the units. So 6 Dryads is still pretty rough like that, because now they've beaten my Bravery score, so whatever damage I might take in the corresponding close combat phase, that's just going to go directly to how many Dryads I lose in this fight. And as you can see in the charge phase, King Khalifa does not waste any time whatsoever. He charges in his Black Company of Empire Greatswords. They charge right through the Sylvaneth Wildwoods directly into my Court of Seasons. However, he did manage to lose 2 of his Greatswords because of dangerous terrain tests, so that part was kind of rough for him. So that's good for me. Only 8 Greatswords, so I'm looking forward to just curb stopping these guys because, you know, Greatswords, I don't think they're much of a threat this time in Age of Sigmar. So I'm looking forward to see how that combat goes. And in the far right hand corner of the board, the Yellow Company charges directly into my Troop of Dusk, and that battle is just going to be a massacre as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'm not worried about 9 handgunners taking on my 3 Kurnoth Hunters. I mean, maybe if there was 20 of them, I'd be kind of worried, but against 9, that's not going to be any sweat whatsoever. That was until, of course, the combat phase occurred. This is where I thought wasn't that much of the sweat out when it came to these Empire Greatswords, but man, these Greatswords just unleashed the pain as much as they possibly could. In the end of the combat phase, I think I managed to kill 2. I think I killed 2 of the Empire Greatswords in the combat phase. However, they managed to kill 8 of my Dryads as well. And then after the battle shock test, when I went to roll to see how many more Dryads I lost, I rolled a 6, so I lost 6 more Dryads in the process of that. So all I have left are just those 6 Dryads. I have 6 6 Dryads versus 8 Great Swords, and oh my god, that was an absolute brutal, just a murder. These Dryads just crumpled beneath the assault of those Empire Great Swords. And this goes to show you, ladies and gentlemen, never to be overconfident when it comes to fighting against your opponent. Never count your opponent out for the game. I thought because I killed his general, I just basically neutered his army, and his army was able to do much against me, but man, I was seriously underestimating the power of these Great Swords, so that was kind of rough. Over here in the top of the page, we came to the combat phase. My Kurnoth Hunters had no problem just destroying that unit of handgunners. I think by the time we got done, there was only one handgunner left behind, and then when we went to roll for the Bravery, I think we rolled like a 5 on that part, so because of that, those guys went away for Battle Shock phase as well. So the Yellow Company is now dead, and my Troop of Dusk is relatively unharmed for that one. I'm only carrying the win they got from the shooting phase. So with combat as well as Battle Shock phases over, we roll for the initiative for turn number 2. And that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Free Peoples after both command phase as well as movement on this part. And just like that, King Khalifa rolled out of the box with his initiative roll. He got like a 5. I think I rolled like a 2. So because of that, those Empire guys get to go again. So not much movement taking place here, really. All that really happens is that the Red Company of Handgunners kind of like turns a little bit better. Turns a little more to face my Dryads, so that way they can kind of shoot them off the board during the shooting phase. So that's all that really takes place on this side of the board. And absolutely no movement takes place over here on the right-hand side of the board. His blue company just stays where they're at. Unfortunately for my opponent, though, I take that back. He did move him up a little bit just in case he wanted to charge, so that way he gets a more successful way on the charge he wanted to. So I think he moved him like an inch or two is all he really did. So that way his handgunners are closer also to shoot at my guys as well. So that makes up the movement phase for the Free Peoples on this one. During the shooting phase, the Red Company opens up my unit of Dryads and manages to plink out 5 of those guys. Sorry, not 5 of them, 7 of my Dryads, so now I only have 1 Dryad left over, and let's just be honest, that Dryad's not going to make in the next combat phase. Those Empire Great Swords have no problem just chopping that poor guy down to his baser elements, and so that part was kind of rough. So that makes him shooting here on the left-hand side of the battlefield. And in the shooting phase over here on the right-hand side of the board, the Blue Company takes aim with their great guns, the Empire handguns that open up on Coadil, the Willow Lord, and they manage to put 4 more wounds on him as well. So that part is really rough. Luckily for me, I do have the Gift of Giran on my Tree Lord, so he does heal up a D6 amount of wounds into the hero phase during his hero phase because he's inside of Sylvaneth Wildwood. So that might kind of help mitigate the damage that's done to him, but at the same time, man, 5 wounds on my general is just 5 wounds too many as far as I'm concerned. So that part was pretty rough. And there's a picture during the Coast Combat phase as well as the Battle Shock phase. As you see, those Empire Great Swords had no problem whatsoever. Just curb stopping that last Dryad and managed to kill him. So now I'm kind of sad because now I've lost control of that left-hand objective for that Standing Stone. So now I only control 2 of the terrain features while my opponent controls 2. So right now we'll be kind of like in a tie right now. Alright, that takes us directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Sylvaneth. This is after the hero phase. As you can see in this picture, basically I just started using some magic for Coadil. Coadil casts Arcane Bolt onto that unit of Blue Company men and managed to kill off 2 of the Blue Company in the process of doing that. At the same time, because these guys were within 1 inch of the Sylvaneth Wildwood, when I rolled to see if I roused up the Wildwood due to magic, I rolled a 6. Because of that caused D3 mortal wounds onto that unit of handgunners as well. It managed to kill 3 more of those handgunners, so now we dropped those guys by a quarter. So there's only 15 of those Blue Company handgunners left, which is pretty awesome as far as I'm concerned. So that makes it the hero phase for me on this turn. Alright, during the movement phase, I use Coadil's move along the Spirit Paths ability and transform from the Sylvaneth Wildwoods on the right hand side of that Standing Stone all the way there to the center Sylvaneth Wildwoods, the autumn colored ones right there in the center. My plan is to have him kind of reinforce and try to take that objective on the left hand side, kill those Empire Great Swords, and then have some combined fire from either my Kurnoth Great Hunters, or start moving around some magical spells, or do something basically to try to hold down that left hand flank. So that way I'm holding down 3 objectives and he only has the 1, and that's pretty much the goal I'm going for with the movement phase. At the same time, on the far right hand side in the upper corner there, the Troop of Dust moves up 5 inches to get closer to the Blue Company so that they get in range of shooting. So that makes a movement on this one. Alright, so here's a close-up of Coadil. As you can see there, he's deployed there in that central Sylvaneth Woods. My idea is to have him kind of hold down that Sylvaneth Wildwoods, try to take out the members of the Empire Gunners the best way he can, either through shooting or through close combat as well, and have him charge and kind of take cover behind that Standing Stone and then hold on to that objective until turn 5, so that way I'll have to force his Imperial Gunners to come closer to me and, you know, move out of formation so that I engage him in close combat. So that way I have 3 objectives held. And then pretty much that's the plan going on here on this close-up on this side of the board. And at the same time here on the right hand side of the board, you can see I have my Troop of Dust. I moved them up there 5 inches to get between those Sylvaneth Wildwoods, so that way they're in perfect alignment to shoot at that Blue Company that's located there in the center as well. So right now I have them both now under pincer attack. I can have both the troops of Dawn as well as Dusk open up the Blue Company and try to destroy those guys during the shooting phase. And technically speaking, it's quite possible just because the amount of damage those guys as Kurnoth Great Bows do. So that pretty much makes a move for this side, and with that done, we go directly to the shooting phase. In the shooting phase, I pretty much got my revenge on this part. Coadel takes aim with his Doom Tendril Staff, managed to plink off 4 more of those Empire Greatswords as well. So there's only 2 of those guys left over, which is pretty awesome, and so hopefully during Battle Shock tests I'll have enough to make those guys break and get rid of that unit, and so that's pretty much the plan on that side. Now that I dealt with those Empire Greatswords, I just have to hold out another turn. Hopefully the Empire won't get the next turn. I can win initiative and I can move Coadel over to that Standing Stone and then hold that objective and try to win the battle by turn 5 on this whole battle report. And over here on the right hand side, both the troops of Dawn and Dusk cut loose on the blue company. I think I managed to put 16 wounds in total, but since there's only 15 of those handgunners anyways, they don't get any armor saves because the -1 run from the great bows. So because of that, we just murderize that entire unit of blue company handgunners. So now the entire right flank is kind of open now. So that's what my plan is. I'm going to keep my troop of Dawn right there next to that Standing Stone, hold that right hand side, and then run the troop of Dusk over to the tower during my turn, so that way I can hold on to that objective and then seize all 4 objectives and pretty much win the battle report. So yeah, that's pretty much what's happening to shooting on this side of the board, and we go directly on to the Battle Shock phase. In the Battle Shock phase, my buddy King Khalifa rolls a d6 and rolls a perfect 6 on that part, so because of that, his last 2 remaining Empire Greatswords kind of flee off the table, and the only thing he has left now is that singular lone company of 20 handgunners, the Red Company, all by themselves, and so that part's kind of cool. So with Battle Shock done, we go directly to initiative for turn number 3. Both King Khalifa and I roll for initiative, and turn number 3 goes directly to this Sylvaneth on this part, so that part was pretty awesome as well. As you can see in this photo, I managed to plink off in the hero phase. I opened up with Arcane Bolt onto that unit of Red Company handgunners. Unfortunately for me, I rolled really poor on that one. I only rolled a 2 on that part, so only 2 of those, I rolled a 2, so because of that, only 1 of those Empire handgunners are now dead, so that part's kind of rough. So with the hero phase over, we go directly to the movement phase. As you see the move phase, I just move up my Troop of Dusk as quick as they possibly could. I originally was thinking about running those guys, but I decided not to. I decided to move up 5 inches instead, so that way they can also get within range and within line of sight of the Red Company as well, so that way all 3 of my units, the Troop of Dawn, the Troop of Dusk, as well as Coadil, can cut loose with their long-range firepower and just kind of whittle down that unit of handgunners down to size. So that pretty much makes a movement on this side of the board. And this photo is taken both after the shooting phase as well as Battle Shock phase. As you can see in this photo, we just murderized that unit of Red Company of handgunners. Basically, between the Coadil as well as my 2 units of Kurnoth Hunters, we put like 16 or 17 wounds on that unit because of our -1 to rend for our shots. They didn't get any armor saves, so 17 guys of those guys died. I decided not to pursue them during the combat phase because I had a sneaking suspicion that the Battle Shock phase would basically destroy it for them. My opponent, King Cleaver, rolled a 5 on his dice for the Battle Shock phase, and the rest of his handgunners disappeared at that part. So as you can see there, the entire table is now pretty much clear of all any Empire forces whatsoever. And that, ladies and gentlemen, takes us to the end of the game. As you can see, I've completely tabled my opponent, King Khalifa. The only things that are left over are my Sylvaneth forces, and because of that, by default, I've achieved all 4 objectives, and I pretty much won this battle. So with that being said, let's go directly to the after-action report for this one, because certainly this one is now over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the after-action report. This is the part of the battle report where we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle with this army. So this is the after-action report for Age of the Realms, battle report number 17. This is a Border Wars scenario, and it ended up being a victory for yours truly, Commander CheapSkate. So let's go ahead and talk about the losses real fast. For my losses, the only thing I really lost was the Court of Seasons. That's my huge unit of 20 Dryads. For King Khalifa, he lost Halton Dieter Moons, the Griffin Guard, the Yellow Company, the Blue Company, the Red Company, as well as the Black Company. In short, his entire army for that matter. So let's go and talk about what some of the things that allowed me to win this battle. First of all, killing off Haltman Dieter Moon saved me and basically won me this battle as well. With that as a command abilities or inspiring presence, I was able to take his army piece by piece. He was able to give any buffs to any of his units. I was unable to give him inspiring presence to help them pass the Battle Shock test, so because of that, I just kind of pretty much owned and dominated that part for the battle phase, especially when it came to the command phase. Also, once again, Sylvaneth Wildwoods are also invaluable to me as well. They won me this battle as well. The ability to take cover and get cover saves, as well as adding buffs to my units, makes this, as always, another aspect of the Sylvaneth army that just kind of helps you win battles all the time. I really like the new kit I put on Code of the Lord. I really like the Gift of Garam being put on them, as well as Randu's Lemonentry, and also taking that Verdant Blessing spell. I think this will be what the kit I'll keep on for the foreseeable future, especially 1,000 point battles, because his ability to possibly summon up 2 Sylvaneth Wildwoods per hero phase is just absolutely amazing, and that just really helped me win this battle. That's another example of how this could really help out a Sylvaneth army as well. Now, on the flip side, Empire handgunners handgunners are extremely dangerous, especially with +1 to hit with their 20+ gunners. They have a 4 up to hit, 3 up to wound. If you were to get bonuses from command abilities and also with battalion abilities as well, you're talking about a 2 up, 3 up type unit that also has -1 to rend, and they could just destroy entire units at a time. However, I will say for my buddy King Khalifa, I think he did take too many shooters for this army list and not enough close combat troops, and so because of that, I told him maybe you should want to reflect on that, refine your list a little bit, put a little bit more close combat action on that part. You maybe have only one big unit of handgunners and then really buff them up with that, and then have a lot of support units that can do close combat on that part. As always, this was a good battle. It was a great opponent to fight against, and I'm also looking forward to the rematch on this part as well. Alright, so now it's time to think about doing some reflection on this part. I am actually thinking about changing up my army from my Age of Sigmar battle reports. Now granted, I love this Sylvaneth army. I think this is like one of the greatest armies that Age of Sigmar and Games Workshop has ever put out for the Age of Sigmar. However, I have been using this army for 17 battle reports, and I think I've done pretty much everything I could do with it for the time being, until something big or massive basically comes down the pipeline. I've been playing this army ever since Age of Sigmar first came out, back when they were using Guardians of the Deep Woods, I believe is what they were called, the very first battalion where you had 3 treemen and then like 2 units of dryads and a branch wraith and then 2 Sylvaneth wildwoods. So I've been doing that since the original compendium release date. I've also been using them throughout the various updates that came up through individual war scrolls and all the way up to the brand new release of the Sylvaneth book as well. So I pretty much showed you all the tactics you can pretty much do with this army and all the kind of neat things you can do and set up terrain and how to use Sylvaneth Wildwood. So I think it's time for a change. I'm pretty much thinking about switching up my armies. I'm not sure what army I'm thinking about taking out, but I'll keep you posted as always. I mean, like I said, it's just the back of my head. I'm just, it's time for something new, and I'm upstairs for like a new challenge. And with all these new releases coming out, I'm thinking about, changing up a little bit. But as always, feel free to like, to subscribe, and comment. Your input is always invaluable as always, and just making these battle reports greater as well. Also, if you get a chance, check out my Instagram account. It's in the description below, and that way you can keep up to date with all the things that are going on with my hobby updates. And if I'm planning on doing any changing with my armies, you'll get to see some of the photos of the guys being painted up and also being worked on. So yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this one for Age of the Realms battle report number 17. As always, you guys, we'll catch you later for next week Sunday as well as Thursday for all of our shows. You guys stay classy.